Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel, Diamonds and Washi. My name's Katie, and if you are new here, hi, welcome. And if you're back, welcome back. Today I'm here with an update on my giant cross-stitch conversion project. This is going to be a very long-term project, and if you're new, this is the first time you're seeing one of my videos, just to give you a really quick recap. I am taking a really large cross-stitch chart and converting it to a diamond painting on a blank canvas, which means that I am not only reading a chart off of a cross-stitch pattern, but I also had to buy the drills and the canvases separately, and I'm reading the patterns so that I know exactly where to count and place each of the different colors of diamonds on a blank canvas. It's a very different kind of diamond painting. It's a challenge that I was really excited to undertake, and I started it in January of this year, which this year is 2022, and I don't really know how long this project is going to take me, but I had to stop in and check in with you guys today because I am officially 1/4 of the way done with this project. I am so excited. If you happen to follow me on Instagram, you will have seen me already post a picture of this project, of this canvas rather, this quadrant completed, and I actually went ahead and used one of my kids for scale. I borrowed that idea from Diamond Junkie, who also was working on a rather large long-term cross-stitch conversion project. So I'm going to insert that picture here so you guys can enjoy like both how cute my kid is and also maybe get a sense of scale, because I feel like the camera just doesn't do it justice. This project is large. So what I ended up doing, because the chart itself, once converted, was going to translate into being just a really large diamond painting, I decided to break it down into more manageable sections that would be easier to work on and also give me the satisfaction of a finish of sorts, like kind of a really visual milestone to reach as I completed each canvas. So each of these canvases is about 96 by 71 centimeters. There's a little bit of wiggle room on either end. So I think the actual part of the pattern that's on here is about 95 by 70 ish. And there are 88 colors in this particular project. I think that there is a max color version. I did not have the level of mental capacity, I was going to say the level of craziness, to take on that kind of project, but who knows, maybe in the future I'll take on a max color conversion project, because I think that would have like 200 something colors. Anyway, this one has 88. Of course, it has square diamonds. That's just the nature of working on a canvas that is blank, because if you were to use round diamonds, the white would show through around each diamond, if that makes sense. I ordered I got the cross-stitch chart from Heaven and Earth Designs, and the title of the piece is Dragon Race into the Night. The artist is Rose Kahn. She has some really lovely artwork. I ended up sourcing the canvases and the diamonds, both from Cooper Diamond Art. I ordered this project back in May of 2021, though I didn't start it until January of 2022. At the time that I ordered, that was one of the only places that that was one of the easiest places, I should say, to be able to just send over the floss usage chart, and they did all the math for me. They ordered everything for me. I have to say, though, that I have had a difficult time with these drills. I don't know that I will order from them again for drills unless they change their supplier, because these are acrylic. If you happen to watch my last check-in video, you will have seen me talk a lot about how frustrated I was with the popping that was happening and how I've had to seal as I go along. And I'll share more about the experience of what sealing this canvas has been like once I get a little further into the video. But these are all my diamonds. This is not all of them. This is what I have kitted up. I have a box of overflow bags of diamonds that I just gradually refill these containers as they start to run low. But anyway, let me go ahead and show you the actual canvas, because I've been leaving you in suspense. You guys, this is the top left quarter of Dragon Race into the Night. Now, I cannot quite fit the entire thing in frame, so I will be shifting the canvas around a little bit so you can see parts of the whole thing. In just a little bit, I'll also insert a picture of the whole canvas without my kiddo so that you can actually see what the entire canvas looks like completed. I started up in that top left corner up there and kind of worked my way over and went kind of a page at a time. It's been such a learning experience for me because while I have done a tiny bit of counted cross stitch, it has been years and years and years. And so I thought of this as really just a truly new experience to me. By the way, I've really appreciated the tips and tricks that you guys shared in my last progress update video. So if you think of others that you want to share, if you have experience with Pattern Keeper, or you hear me say something that you're like, Katie, there's an easier way to do that, you are welcome to share as much in the comment section below. I will not take it personally. I will simply be grateful. I got some really, really helpful tips in the last video, especially with Pattern Keeper, because I kind of showed what it looked like when I worked on, oops, sorry to bump you, when I was working on this canvas and how I was using Pattern Keeper. So I loved that we got into more of these larger dragons. While it was fun to get to see kind of the arch of dragons form in the sky, which you would have seen in my last update, since then I've gotten the chance to work on this section down here and had these much bigger dragons. Now you can also see their dragon riders, and I have to say that definitely up close it has a very super confetti heavy, really kind of a muddle of colors effect, but really, really when you pull back and even just looking at it through the camera lens right now, and you're still too close to truly be viewing distance, but even looking at it through the camera lens right now, it comes together. Like the colors just come together and make sense. I think Heaven and Earth Designs just uses computer charting for their canvases, and that just gives you this like super, super close interpretation of the original artwork. There are a couple of elements like this. I don't know if this is supposed to be a dragon. I think maybe it is. Excuse me. And then we've got this pretty pink and purple dragon over here. We have half of the castle forming over here. And I just split this chart right down the middle. And so I think pretty much immediately when we move over into the top right part of the canvas that we'll shift into some of the night colors. But yeah, I literally, in the Pattern Keeper app, just where it has like these arrows that mark when you've gotten to the halfway point, either horizontally or vertically. And so I stopped right there in each one. So it was truly a quarter of the canvas completed. Most of this canvas was very, very confetti heavy, where there were tons of color changes in a small area, especially this last row, which was the final row that I completed on this canvas. There was a little bit of color blocking when I was in here. There is some color blending happening, but that was really it. Like there's a bit of color blocking right here, a little color blocking above the sun, but like especially when we were getting into these dragons, pure confetti. Pure confetti. So it definitely took a bit longer. I think that I worked on this, like I said, I think I started the end of January, and it's now the beginning of April, and I've taken a few weeks off entirely here and there. And then when I got to this last row, I worked on it so hard for so many hours for just over a week to complete the last row. I spent a lot of time on this kit. I knew that I was risking burnout, but I just was so eager to finish this first quadrant. Now, I think that you can tell even through the camera lens, yes, you can. It's especially evident like in person and up close that there are lines that are showing around these light drills in particular. That's the grid lines of the canvas itself, because the canvas has it gridded out in 10 by 10 squares, which makes it so much easier to kind of match up with Pattern Keeper and work on. But especially when we have diamonds like these that they're acrylic, they're not very consistent in size, and they are very trash drill heavy, like have tiny tabs, or even like have just imperfections that I can't even totally see are going to be a problem. Once they're down, then I'm like, oh, there's gapping. I tried to go through and fix it a bit, but then I gave up because this canvas is double-sided adhesive. I will not order a double-sided adhesive canvas again if I can help it. I think poured glue is so much more forgiving and so much more pleasant to work on. It makes it certainly a lot easier to go through and straighten and fix drills like this, where you can see the lines and see the gapping. And yeah, so that has been kind of the tricky part about this canvas, is that it's a little bit frustrating to work on between the canvas being double-sided adhesive and these drills wanting to pop so badly. But I'm reminding myself that it feels like this finished product is worth it. I'm going to take just a minute. I want to bring you in a little bit closer to the canvas so that I can show you some different parts. And you can also see just how different it looks when we're kind of zoomed in close up compared to what you're seeing right now kind of pulled out. So let me bring you down. So here we have our first like big dragon friend. Honestly, I don't know what this sprinkling of incorrect drills is. I was looking at the original artwork and I don't really see this in it. Even though this is, I did go over and seal this, I may see if I can still pop these off and put down just that light color to match, because this feels very out of place to me. It's really faint, but this dragon rider is holding like the reins for this dragon's head. But you can see up close, especially like these dragons, their wings are pure confetti. This red almost looks completely out of place. There's this odd almost looking coloring on its neck. But just a moment ago when we were pulled out to still even too close to be called a viewing distance, I feel like those colors came together and actually made a lot more sense. So I think that that's something definitely to keep in mind if you're working on a project like this, that it's coming from a computer charted chart, that it just is going to look very different up close, because the idea is that the computer is seeing how these colors come together and how our eyes see them as we pull back. Down here, we've got another dragon. I really liked the colors in this one. There's a lot of like pretty pastels and whatnot. And down here, we actually have a building. I don't know if you would have been able to make that out very well if you weren't looking for it, but there's a city that they're flying over. And this is kind of the first of like those small buildings in that city that came out. And I actually think that this works pretty well, especially given the charting. We have another little dragon rider over here. We can't really see the dragon that he's riding just yet. That'll be in the bottom left part of the canvas. And then over here, we've got kind of these, this one is really muddy. I have a really hard time making out what this is supposed to be even when I pull back. And some of these color shifts are just, they're a bit jarring. But again, I'm trusting the process. This is a massive, massive kit. And I also am keeping in mind that it truly was designed to be a cross-stitch chart. I just noticed that even though I sealed this, there's a drill here that's missing. Okay. This was originally designed to be a cross-stitch chart, and so intended to be used with a different medium. So floss, I think the colors look different to the eye than diamonds do. These, even acrylic or resin, you know, these are bigger than a cross stitch, if that makes sense. And so it's going to read differently to our eyes than if they were literally, it's a quarter of the size for a stitch, I believe. Because the math is that you look at the number of stitches wide by height and you divide that by 4, and that's your height and width in centimeters. Okay, so maybe I don't quite have that right. So don't ignore what I just said about stitch size. Anyway, it's still smaller than this, right? There's a couple other spots I want to show you in particular. So over here, off here to the left. So in this tree and in other various parts of this canvas, there is one particular color that I'm hesitant on. So it's this light purple that you see. It's sprinkled all throughout here. It's sprinkled here. It's kind of on like the side of the tree. It's in parts of the like dragon riders and dragons. This is one of those colors that, interestingly enough, let me show you. The original, like the cross stitch color that's given is actually the number 29. And what they did is, I don't know if Cooper did this or their supplier did this, where they found the closest DMC that matches it. But I think that the number that's available in diamonds, that is, because we don't have every single color available in diamonds that's available as floss. Anyway, so 3740 is the diamond color. 29 is what was on the original chart. I think that this may be a slightly lighter purple than is actually intended in the chart, because I feel like, I know you're getting a little bit of glare from the sunlight, but I feel like the purple is too light for the areas that it's been charted. I think that it still works. I'm certainly not going to try to swap it out, because there are literally thousands of this color in the entire canvas. I'm not replacing all of those, but I do think that that color swap may not quite be right. And I understand that part of it is that they're going to get as close as they can, but I'm hesitant. I'm really hesitant about that particular color. I'm afraid it's too light. I liked that here, like when I started this last column and there was like this little blip of light color, I'm like, what is this? What is happening? I realized, oh no, that's just where it goes off the end of the page, and that's like the end of the dragon's tail kind of curling around, and then we kind of get up into its body. But I loved all the pretty soft pastels in here. But you can see, like, my gosh, you guys, these drills were tough to place because, again, inconsistent sizing. So I was trying to make sure I wasn't grabbing any that I thought were then going to turn around and pop. You can actually see up close a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about sealing now. Some of these sections have a little bit of a milky finish from how I sealed it. This is actually over here. You can see this section right here. Okay, you can almost see the sealant that was used there. I'm going to bring you back out and I'm going to talk about sealing in general, but I just wanted to point that out to you while we were up close on this canvas. Let me pull you out and we're going to talk a little bit more. Okay, so sealing. I did a lot of poking around and research, different YouTube videos that other creators have done, hopping around in some of the different Facebook groups, and the consensus seemed to be that this Minwax polycrylic was the way to go. So I tried to look up and find this. I looked on Amazon, I looked at my local hardware stores and Walmart and whatnot. I could not find this in stock anywhere. I was like, did they discontinue it? What in the world is happening? And so I kept poking around and people were saying, oh, the Minwax one coat polyurethane, again in the gloss finish, that's a perfectly acceptable substitute. So I thought, okay, well I found that, so I'll use that. But I don't know if you can hear. Not really. Okay, really watery, very thick. This is what I ended up using. Spoiler alert, I found this literally today. I went into a store and I found it. It just wasn't on the app. This is what I used on this entire canvas, and it was too thick. I'm gonna say that with some certainty. After having worked on it a few different times and I tried out a couple of different brushes, I just could not get this to spread evenly. I tried like kind of smushing with the sponge to make sure that it wasn't like, just kind of glopping and sitting really thick in any areas. But like I just showed you a moment ago, there were still areas where I couldn't get it to spread evenly. And it left this a little bit milky finish to it. Now, I say this as kind of like a word of caution, use my experience, I suppose, that I think that this is not necessarily a perfect substitute, at least not with maybe this particular kind of drills or something like that. I'm not planning to necessarily use this again unless I try to find a way to thin it out. Since I did find the polycrylic and it already feels like is going to be like a lighter, maybe has more kind of a watery consistency. My hope is that I'm going to be able to spread it more evenly. I personally, I'm not fretting too much about the fact that this particular finish had this kind of effect because I am not intending to hang this in my home. I'm not intending to display it. I know that probably makes some of you go like, what? You're putting all this work and time into it and you're not going to display it? It's just, that's not why I'm working on it. I'm working on it for the challenge, for the experience, for getting to share with you guys, like what my learnings are and that sort of thing. It's a personal goal. So I'm not too upset that this is gonna potentially like have affected the overall finish. It still seems to be pretty shiny. It seems to still have the same overall finished look as it, as the acrylic drills did before. And really, I'm not going to be that upset because it's doing the job. This was a drill, the one that I pointed out that was missing down here, that was one that kept popping off when I was trying to seal it. And so to be honest, I don't even think that it necessarily means that the sealer didn't work. I think that I may have just accidentally brushed it off and not realized it that time when I finally then set it out to like dry and cure. So I'll get a little bit of like dot stick or something and I'll just pop that back down there. I'm not that worried about it. But truly, like, I was having some horrendous popping in the top half of this canvas where it felt like even if I didn't move it, it just felt like the drills were just popping. Like I would just look at it and drills would be popping. So this has successfully stopped that from being a problem. So I'm going to call it a success in that sense. But given that I could not get it to spread evenly and I was fighting with it, I am 100% planning to use the polyacrylic on the next section. And I have my fingers crossed because this is the one that I saw recommended, like certainly the most of any other kind of sealer. Everyone was saying like Mod Podge yellows over time and this spray thing is too sticky and problematic, but this is the one that everyone seemed to keep coming back to, and it's the clear gloss. So I did get the correct finish, and I really truly am hoping that because it does seem like it's going to be more watery, that I will just be able to spread it more evenly. I also got a couple of different kinds of paintbrush to see if that helps, like maybe not the foam brush, maybe a traditional paintbrush with bristles. I'm gonna play around with it. I'll share with you guys what my learnings are. Anyway, I think that about concludes sort of this update on this particular quadrant. But before I wrap up, I do want to go ahead and take a moment and, like I promised, put up a picture for you guys of this entire quarter of the canvas in its entirety so you can see it. So here you go. I am excited to have hit this milestone. I'm still debating what section to work on next. I am cracking up because I put it to my Patreons to ask them to vote on it for me. And I was like, I really feel like I want to do the top right or the bottom left next, because then I'll have two sections that connect to each other. And wouldn't you know that most of the rebels in there were like, no, do the bottom right. And I'm like, that is not helpful. So I will go ahead and let you guys have some input as well. Here is the original artwork, and this is the top left section. Let me know. Would you like to see me work on the top right or the bottom left section next? And if you really have to insist on the bottom right, fine. But I would love to hear if you have a preference between the bottom left and the top right. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really enjoying checking in with you guys on this project. I would love to know what your thoughts are. Feel free to share any tips or suggestions that you have as you kind of watch me stumble my way through this kind of project. And let me know, are you thinking of trying a cross stitch conversion for yourself? I would love to hear about it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up before you head out. And if you're not already subscribed and want to keep following my progress on this project, I'd love to have you. Please subscribe. You can hit the bell to be notified when I share new videos as well. All right, my friends, have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, and I'll chat with you in the next one. Bye.